Hi there. So I'm walking a walk I've never really done before. I'm walking from Balmedie beach in Aberdeenshire, north of Aberdeen, and I'm walking up to a place I'm more familiar with, which is Newburgh, at the mouth of the Eithne River. I felt obliged as a form of pilgrimage to do this walk. Previously I wouldn't have thought to do it. No, I can always appreciate this coast at other sites in Aberdeenshire, like by Aberdeen or at Balmedie or at Newburgh. But there's recently been a BBC Radio 4 documentary on this land here and what transpired between 2007 up to maybe 2011 and beyond. But seeing as I was in Aberdeen this week, I thought I should, after listening to that radio, I should do the walk, and I'm sort of reflecting out loud as I progress up the coast north. So this is part of one of the largest sand dune ecosystems in Britain. Definitely in Scotland, but probably it outcompetes a lot of the sand dune systems up across elsewhere in England and Wales. Definitely bigger than the Sefton coast, and that's already a fairly big one with its own ecological degradation problems. So in 2007, as I had just left Aberdeen after finishing my university education there for my undergraduate, the news was about a certain celebrity American businessman who was coming to Aberdeen to invest in and buy a golf course. And he came to this land here. There was a picture of him in the news with should I note, with a woolly hat on, and he was saying how God made this land to become a golf course. I'm not going to say his name because his personality does overtake. You'll probably know who he is. You can already tell who I'm talking about, I think, especially when I made reference to the woolly hat, which I know my hair's not very flattering right now, so maybe I should have worn one. So obviously it didn't have good foreboding, knowing this businessman was coming here in this area here, which was then triple SI, Site of Special Scientific Interest, because of the sand dune system. So obviously I hoped for the best and didn't pay much attention to it. And it was about 2010 when it transpired things had not gone well at all. First of all, that they had not been sensitive to the sand dune system in their construction of the golf course, which was bad enough. It wasn't debilitating, but it had set a certain precedent that even if it was only a little bit of a sand dune, it had set a precedent, and that wasn't good. And he still hoped, oh well, no, to take on the chin, environmentally wise. And then Anthony Baxter, so I'm dropping names now. So a certain local journalist who'd been following the story released a documentary on this golf course. And if the impact on the triple SI wasn't bad enough, it turned out this businessman had been publicly verbally abusing these people. Calling them all sorts of names and threatening to have them forcibly evicted by the government. Now, how can we let this happen? Because the reason why I feel we shouldn't be naming this businessman is it wasn't him. he'd submitted along with his assistants, he'd submitted a proposal to the local government. The local government had actually reviewed it, and it was a close tie, but it voted against the proposal, at least a version of the proposal. They may have suggested they modify it and reapply so they can still have their golf course, but so it impacts these dunes a little less. But what actually happened was the local press and newspaper editors of the local press mounted a campaign against those councillors who voted against the original plan for the golf course. And then what happened was the First Minister of Scotland became involved and overruled the local council. He felt this businessman had lots of economic value, and that it should be overruled. This is of national interest. So, golf course went ahead. The Scottish government floated the idea, or maybe the advisors floated the idea to the Scottish government. I think that's less libelous to have the people who lived around, the local people who lived around, who had houses adjacent to the golf course, to have them forcibly evicted. Called what's the word? I'll come to me later. What's the word? Oh, I'm falling on my arms a bit sore. So, compulsory purchase order, that's it. So, imagine how a sore arm can stop you thinking. And I went ahead. Now, people could keep shouting and decrying the businessmen, but the people who allowed it to happen were the Scottish First Minister. They were the editors of the local press, and shamefully the local police service. But this was being investigated by the journalist I mentioned earlier. He was arrested. He was held for 4 hours because he was asking because he went to the office of the golf course to ask why the diggers on the golf course had broken a water pipe and not tried to rectify it with the local people. So it's always the case. If anyone to care about, no, that was shocking in itself. I remember at the time that I'd had various encounters with the Grampian police, as it was then called. Just very boorish behaviour from police officers on my bicycle, for example, when I was in Aberdeen around the time. So I wasn't surprised really of the sort of underhand behaviour of the local police. But yeah, but at the same, I'm going to go over this. There's a certain feeling of shame that we all hoped would be for the best. Now, I mentioned the local councillors. There are also statutory bodies like Nature Scot who will have poured over the planning applications and advised against it. Yeah, it's definitely a shame that we didn't pay more attention as it was happening. I guess it was hard to, but it's a lesson that, you know, you may have vested interest, you may have vested business interest in a site, but they may have invested interest, but there's also people who are gatekeepers who can help the situation and make it better, or stop it getting worse is maybe a better word for it. So Yeah, and I don't know. And he could still get involved, but we could have done more. Lots of other people living here did what they could. They protested. They did a protest walk past the estate. And you know, sad news is this land now, the sand dunes here, this sector of sand dunes are no longer listed as SSSIs. They lost what made them scientifically significant. And it's not the end of the world either, you know. There's still a lot left, but that was a lesson that we shouldn't let it happen to the rest of it. Anyway, I think I best enjoy my walk more now and just reflect, and that we should all try to do better. So let's see, walking up and been passing, you can see sections here where there's new dunes forming. You can see the marram grasses coming up and the accreted sand. The land's coming forward against the sea. Walking along here, I can see girls, especially black girls, those predators. I was told by someone that they actually drag some birds out to drown, the smaller girls out to drown them, and auks and puffins. And then they pick up their dead corpse. I've seen a number of feeding frenzies, or what might be gannets out in the sea. I'll have to use my fancy pants camera and see what's happening. And obviously beachcombing, you can see lots of little sandhoppers which are cleaning up the debris on the beach, any organic debris. If you're reading a newspaper and fall asleep, you might lose your newspaper. The sandhoppers will eat it. And the various shells, various clam shells, and oh yeah, and oyster catchers as usual. The sea's a bit rough. I'm not sure I'm going to see dolphins, but I know I'm going to see seals in a bit, so we've got a bit further to go. I think I best enjoy myself and let my arm get rested.